Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We really appreciate your patience. Unfortunately, we don't seem to have overcome the gremlins affecting our audio system. The speaker has directed that we should start and not keep you here for any time longer. So we're going to use the alternative. I hope it's audible enough. We're going to have to pass this on. Thank you for making time to the final briefing by Parliament about the State of the Nation address, hosted by the presiding officers. I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to introduce the principals to you and hand over to them to give us the update that we have always been eagerly waiting to hear them confirm our state of readiness with regard to our preparedness for the event. The Speaker of the National Assembly is Ms. Baleka Mbete, seated at the table, flanked by the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Ntate Lechisa Tsenori. The Chairperson of the NCOP is caught up in the business of the House, an emergency situation that she is dealing with, and will be joining us in no time. And the Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP is out of the province attending to official business. Accompanying the presiding officers is the Secretary to Parliament, Mr. Gengeze Mkidlana. He's been with you during the course of the week, and also accompanied by senior management of Parliament. I'm going to invite the Speaker of the National Assembly, Mayor Baleka Mbete, to address us on our state of preparedness. Over to you, Speaker.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Is it morning? No. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the media. I think this is probably the first time we are talking to you this year. No, it's not. We talked to you about the panel. So it's good to be interacting with you again. Actually, I wonder whether there's really anything I should add to what you've been hearing from the Secretary. It seems to me maybe the best. Hello? It means I must speak very softly so that I'm not too loud. That maybe the best thing is for you to pose areas of clarifications you need. Because otherwise you know what the state of the nation is about. And it's an annual event that is very important on the political calendar of the country. And annually, we do bring together people from various arms of the state, different organs of the government on this particular occasion to listen to the delivery of the state of the nation, which also invariably makes very important announcements, as well as clarifies the key issues for the country for the year. I don't want to repeat the area of the political calendar, which in fact you heard when we talked about the anniversaries of this year, which we know that members of the political sector would be interested in arranging their own activities around. The issue of the basis for the State of the Nation address, of course, is laid out in the Constitution, in the law, and we are ready to host, and we are getting into all the detailed arrangements to make sure that we can have an orderly occasion yet again. A difference perhaps I want to mention is that this year Parliament is not hosting a dinner. So we will make a saving in that regard. And I think, Secretary, you have the figures of to what extent we're making a saving in that, in relation to there being no dinner. The State of the Nation address of the 11th of February will be, of course, followed by a debate next week. And 2 weeks later, we will have the budget delivered by the Minister of Finance. I wish to highlight the fact that the 11th of February is, of course, 26 years after the release from prison of the founding father, Tata Nelson Mandela. Maybe, ladies and gentlemen, you might have a specific matters of interest that you want to direct to us, and we can answer you when we know what those are. Maybe we just want to save you the boredom of listening to the same thing over and over and over again. We know that you've been accredited because we heard already that there's been accreditation, so you are aware of where those issues are taken care of. And we shall allow you to exercise media freedom, which we've always ensured you enjoy. Never mind the hitch of the last State of the Nation address, which gave you an opportunity to also participate in doing. So I think let's leave it there and then open it for questions of clarification.
Can we just test the mics, because I see some giving the red light, which should signal that they are operating fine. Chantal, can we just try yours and see if it is working?
No.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes,
Seems to be
yes.
working.
Okay, then we'll take a round of questions. Chantal, you'll be first, obviously. Okay. It looks like the mics at the desks are working. And Andisiwe follows, Janet follows. Do we have any other hand for this round? Craig? No? Okay, Gay Davis. So we'll take that. Chantal, you want to start?
Hi, Madam Speaker. Chantal Presence from the African News Agency. Do you have any special security arrangements in place this year, given that the EFF has said that they won't let Zuma speak until he answers questions on why Nhlanhla Nene was fired? And then have you gotten any assurances from the security services that there won't be any jamming devices in play this year?
Okay, Andisiwe Makinana from City Press. Speaker, I mean, we've heard Parliament saying over and over again that it is not involved in the security preparations. You're leaving that to the security agencies. But I hope you can maybe answer the question around whether the Youth League of the African National Congress, they announced at the weekend that they will be here to help remove MPs that are disruptive. For the record, is the Youth League a backup plan to remove MPs that are disruptive? Is it really possible or even probable for them to play any part in the security on that day?
Janet Hurd, Media 24. Just picking up on Andisiwe's question, if you, Madam Speaker, if you can just be a little bit more specific about if any special meetings or arrangements have taken place to try and get an assurance between Parliament and the security establishment, bearing in mind the incident that happened last year, with the signal jamming, and also bearing in mind the comments that Parliament is not responsible for what takes place, for instance, outside Parliament and with the policing. If you could just give us some idea of what, what meetings or what Parliament has put forward to the security establishment. And also just another quick question, if there's any is there any change to the ceremonial procedure in the build-up to the State of the Nation address, or is it exactly as last year with regard to the President coming up the red carpet and things like that? Thank you.
Thanks, Gay Davis, Eyewitness News. Also on the security, we hear that the Crimes Against the State unit is involved. Was that unit involved last year? Is this because we were told that the same security arrangements would be in place as previously, but then you hear about a unit that one hadn't heard about previously being deployed. So, what is that unit? Why is it necessary for it to be involved in security for SONA? And can you confirm that there was a proposal on the table that the SANDF be deployed inside the chamber on the floor or inside the parliament, inside the house? Thanks.
Thank you, Speaker. It looks like the mics are working at times. I don't know if you want to try your speaker before you answer.
Can you hear me? No. This issue of security, I think, needs to be demystified again. It's not special or anything different this year from 21 years ago when we arrived here. There's always cooperation between the three arms of the state, including in the area of security forces of the state. When I first arrived in Parliament and when I started to travel from Rondebosch, we would see the soldiers on the trees. There was no EFF there. There was no announcements or declarations of there going to be particular activity in Parliament. So I just really want to repeat that it's the usual thing we do annually because of the nature of that particular day and who is brought together on that occasion of the State of the Nation address. And maybe South African media should go and observe in other countries what kind of arrangements and preparations happen to prepare for such a day. So let's remove the aura around this year's State of the Nation address. We always come together with the security forces and those in Parliament that are actually deployed to focus on security, interact on a more regular basis with their colleagues in the other organs of the state that are dealing with those issues of security. So the meetings that have taken place are about that. They relate to an agenda which would be looking at, what's relevant for us to apply our minds collectively and together on in order to make sure we put measures in place that would ensure that we can secure the activities of that day. We can make sure that everything happens as smoothly as is possible. The Youth League is not a factor in Parliament. We have not met with the Youth League. The Youth League has not said anything to us. What politics happen outside is exactly that, politics. Things happen and things are said out there. until issues are before us as Parliament, it's not something that we are preoccupied with. The changes to the ceremonial, I'm not aware of any changes. Over time, annually, we always relook, and in particular, the security people look at the route of the president and so on. And over time, you'll be aware that it has been made shorter, it has deviated from the detailed, precise way he used to come from the house, which place he turns and so on. And I think that detail is there even this year. And so those really would be, in my view, not major changes warranting us to even know them thoroughly in terms of where we are concerned, because our preoccupation here in Parliament is what happens within Parliament, is what happens within the precinct. We are aware and we get briefed about the arrangements that are being put in place to ensure that the zone that includes us and the precinct of Parliament is secured. Special unit, I don't know which special unit, maybe the secretary would know about that special unit, which is now involved in this year's State of the Nation address. Secretary.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I think the special unit indicated its crimes against the state. What we know is that there is engagement from the people in the security cluster, in particular, it would be the South African National Defence Force. You would have police getting engaged there, and you would have state security and other related arms engaged there. We have no knowledge of any specific one unit of this nature being engaged, but I'm sure those who are involved in security, they make a determination based on the information that they have. So in this instance, we are engaging the three agencies at that level and engaging justice, who are part and parcel of what is called the National and the Provincial Joint Command Center, which gets involved in the planning of activities of this nature, as is normally the case. It would include, as I've indicated in the previous briefing, officials from the city, officials from the provincial government, officials from national departments responsible for that, and those officials who are assigned to matters of security in Parliament.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Secretary. Shall we take a second round of questions? Lucanio, Marian Merton, Babalo, Denze, Joseph Musia, in that order.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Lucanio Kalata from the SABC. Thanks very much for your answers. Just 2 points from me. The first, obviously, being the fact that there is now a direct, if I could call it that, a direct threat against the president. Last year, it was unprecedented. Nothing like that had ever happened. So this year is different. We've got the experience of last year to call upon when the EFF did what they did in the House. And this year, they've literally told everybody that cares to listen that this is what we are going to do unless so the threat is there. And then are you then telling me that even with knowing what the EFF have said, that you've taken no extra precautionary measures to make sure that that doesn't happen? And then if we can then just move on to the issue of the new rules. The new rules will obviously be in effect for the sitting. Will there be any room, or will you just basically apply the new rules to the letter of the law, or would you, is there some flexibility involved in that? Thanks very much.
Marion Merton, Daily Maverick. Follow-up from the previous question. The EFF has promised that it will ask the President in a series of points of privileges and points of order about the firing of former Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene. It is public knowledge. It is also public knowledge that the Youth League President has threatened, quote-unquote, civil war. The quote delivered on Sunday was, if I'm not mistaken, "We will be at SONA. If there are disruptions, there will be civil war." I'm just trying to clarify your previous statement that this is just politics, and such threats as made by the ANC Youth League fall in the category of politics, which are not of concern to Parliament. Secondly, quick follow-up. We were promised last week at the briefing that at this stage we will have direct information on whether and who from among the former presidents and deputy presidents had RSVP'd and would be attending on Thursday. We were also informed last week that you would brief us on the eminent persons that are being sent, one from each province. At the time of the briefing last week, I believe there were still some discussions going on. Thirdly, I would like your comment, because I'm having a déjà vu from last year. Last year, in the run-up to the SONA, and the EFF then, and it was only the EFF, was particularly clear in what it would do at SONA. I remember attending a number of briefings at which the message from Parliament was no special, no extraordinary security measures were taken. We are having the same déjà vu today. You cannot confirm that the Crimes Against the State unit is going to be part of the arrangements. How is that when newspaper reports have it from that unit that they are part of the preparations and the SONA security? Are we looking at another repeat from last year? Why is Parliament not on top of this? Thank you.
I am Babalo from Times Media. Can Parliament just confirm whether they have enlisted the services of court interpreters and interpreters from other departments, including the Navy, please, as a contingency? We've been informed there are also Navy uniforms in an all-white uniform on the in and around the precinct. Can you confirm what their presence is for exactly? Thank you.
Okay, I think we had the final question after Babalo. Joseph Musia.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, on the issue of security still, last year there were people that came in specifically to remove the EFF wearing white shirts. Is the arrangement still the same? Is it the same people that are going to be responsible should the need arise for people to be removed from Parliament, or was that a special arrangement for last year, or are those people a specific unit of security, or is parliamentary security going to be solely responsible for that?
Okay, thanks for the questions. The question is about threats, and given that there are threats, like there were last year before SONA, are we saying no, it's just business as usual and so on? I guess what I'm trying to convey is something between the specific question of, are there extraordinary precautions that are outside of our usual discussed and agreed measures working with the security forces of the state, because they are there precisely for this function. And given that you have all arms of the state here, you have all spheres, you have various organs, everybody is under the same roof. Every year, of necessity, you do have those detailed discussions. So that's not to say, oh, we don't care, it's just, you know, that's not what I'm saying. So I must not be misinterpreted, because it's an important occasion. It's an occasion on which every year we pay very particular attention to the detail, which we're not going to discuss here. It's not the detail for this briefing. And a lot of it, even we who are sitting here, who work in Parliament, must not have access to the level of detail that it sounds like some members are asking for. But of course, we take into account everything we hear, everything everybody is saying, including the Youth League and the EFF out there. We take all of those things into account. And when we get the appropriate briefings, we raise those issues, we ask those with the expertise whose job it is to focus on those matters to please make sure that they leave no stone unturned to make sure that the occasion runs smoothly. The other place where, in fact, we have done that is in the rules. Last year, when we had the State of the Nation address, we did not have the kinds of rules that we have since formulated collectively in Parliament and adopted. First, we adopted in the National Assembly Rule 53A. Subsequently, later in the year, I believe, in fact, it was in November, we had a meeting of the Joint Rules Committee, and similar rules dealing with such a situation in a joint sitting were adopted. So yes, we've taken those measures, and we will apply those rules. We will, I mean, the reason you have rules is precisely to enable you to apply them when a situation arises where you need to apply them, and we're going to do that. So I didn't think that one had to still say to you, there's this rule, there's that rule. We have rules, and we actually engage about the need for them. And we end up adopting them precisely because developments within Parliament lead us there. So we will apply the rules, yes. Have no doubt about it. Are there staff from other departments? I believe we have made those necessary arrangements. So it should come as no surprise that we would have staff from other departments. RSVPs. At this point, we are able to update you on information about who's coming. The people who have confirmed are the Chief Justice and Mrs. Mogoeng, the former chairperson of the NCOP, now Ambassador Mahlangu, the President of the Pan-African Parliament, Dr. Roger Nkodo, former President and Mrs. Mbeki, former Speaker and her guest. We are also having some traditional leaders. They include from Amampondo, acting Queen Maso Puzascawu, from Amandebele, Agwamanala, King Makosonke Enoch Mabena, Makosonke II from Pumalanga, and others. So that much I can confirm with you. And then eminent persons from provinces. There's George Kendrick Duplessis from Gauteng. There's Mutavazi Peggy Mukondo from Limpopo. There's Masio Kwane Violet Miruti from Northern Cape. There's Sihamezi Ana Musei from Northwest. There's Patience Lunika from Western Cape. There's Advocate Mteteleli Ngumbela from Eastern Cape. There's Macy Maria Kayana from Pumalanga. There's Matwenkwe Melton Figizolo from the Free State. And there's Maikezo Ellen Tipe from KwaZulu-Natal. So those are the list of eminent persons that we have from the provinces. Last year, yes, those people wearing white shirts walked in. At that point, we actually did not have people contracted to Parliament giving us the capacity that we clearly needed on that occasion. But as you will know, immediately as we were working on that Rule 53A of the National Assembly, we also processed, we went through a process whereby we acquired the necessary human resources in this regard, and we actually got people who are now part of the parliamentary protection services. So we feel better where we are than we did as we were approaching the State of the Nation address of last year. I think I've tried to cover all the questions. I don't know whether there's something outstanding.
Speaker, I don't think so in terms of the questions that were raised. Shall we take a final round of questions? Again, by show of hands, we'll acknowledge 3 to 4 hands as our final round of questions. Lester Kivitz, Kay Davis. Going. Joseph Musia. Thank you. Lester, you want to start?
Thanks, Azuko. Madam Speaker, are you happy in terms of what air or atmosphere this year's SONA is being conducted with the threats inside the chamber? And then also outside that day, you have the Zuma Must Fall campaign who's promising a march of 5,000 people, says Corner march of 1,500 people, and the DA a march of 500 people. So that's at least 7,000 people to be around the parliamentary precinct that day. Do you think the air is right for this year's SONA?
Next one, Gay.
Thanks. I just want to go over just what we've heard. Just in terms of the security arrangements, what I understand the Speaker to have said is that, yes, you're aware of all these threats, that there is relevant attention being paid to that by various arms of the state in terms of security arrangements that involves a level of detail that that even you are not privy to, and we certainly aren't going to be given that detail. I just want to be straight about that. Secondly, following on from my colleague Marianne Merton and Lester's question, the threat from the ANC Youth League leader that there would be, he's basically threatening bloodshed outside the streets of what should be the People's Parliament. Can you respond to what Parliament feels about this threat? Thanks.
Joseph Mosia's question is covered, so that was the final question. Joseph says his question is covered. Okay.
Thanks. If the speaker could just put her desk mic on when she responds, thank you.
Are you sure this is working? Sounds better. The question was, is the air from Leicester, is the air right that all these people are going to be marching? I think to the extent that it is an expression of the possibility for South Africans living in a democratic era to freely march in the streets, express whatever views they have on various matters, it is something to be welcome. Because there was a time when marching, was just actually not allowed, in particular from certain sections of society. But I think there's obviously a certain level of anxiety that one hopes that the cautions that have gone into the city's detailed permissions that they've given to various groups would assist the situation to remain calm. Because I listened to a city official this morning on TV, and she was spelling out various different routes and times for different groups, which for me is a responsible thing to do, is actually assisting in averting a possible clash of people coming with different, approaches and agendas and perspectives, who might then end up creating the kind of conflict that would be unnecessary and undesirable. So I don't think it's something about which we should feel alarmed, because if you didn't allow that venting of whatever the issues are that people are carrying with them when they come to these marches, what you would do is force them underground. And when that thing comes out, it normally comes out in a more explosive manner than it needs to. So I think it's a correct thing that in a democratic South Africa, people are allowed freedom of expression. I don't welcome every formulation in the instances that you've referred to, okay, of both EFF and Youth League, because to say there should be to first of all be provocative and be irresponsible by publicly saying you are planning to disrupt the State of the Nation address is something that cannot really be referred to as responsible and to be welcomed. That's number one. Number two, to then say there's going to be a civil war is also totally out of order. And I believe that the ANC has said as much after this incident of the Youth League leader. So that obviously is the view of Parliament. But we're saying those issues are happening in a political environment, is political parties expressing themselves in a totally different setting from the one we are managing in Parliament. And I mean, we watch TV, we listen, we hear, we see people, and that's the end of that. Otherwise, we would bring everything here in Parliament if we thought it's an issue for us to suddenly put on an agenda in Parliament. But when political parties engage here, they engage within a specific framework and they express themselves accordingly. I wouldn't say the air is something to read too much into, Lester, beyond just the fact that, in fact, this democracy will create opportunities for South Africans to go and express different views on various matters. Yeah, I think I've covered the threat of the Youth League.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I think there's one question, and I'm sure Speaker would accommodate that from Janet as the final question. I did indicate it was the final round, Janet. I hope yours will then be the last final question.
Madam Speaker, I just wondered if you could answer to the EFF's agitation around President Zuma and the Nene affair, so-called Nene affair. Do you think, as a president of the country, he should address the matter tomorrow in his State of the Nation address? Do you think that it would be the right thing to do in terms of the level of at which the country is and what we've been through over the past few months? Where do you stand on that matter? Thanks.
Strange question, I must say. I think presidents announce reshuffles for this to be chosen to be an issue around which the business of the day is going to be disrupted is where we are focused. The business of the State of the Nation is that the head of state must talk to us and tell us about the state of the nation. We will know at that point which issues he's focusing on and on what basis. And we will engage on that next week in a debate based on the State of the Nation address. Thanks.
Speaker, Deputy Speaker, thank you very much. Secretary to Parliament, thank you, and senior management. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I'm told that light lunch will be served at an adjacent venue to your right as we exit, which is the members' dining hall. Thank you very much.
Tell me one thing, will you be co-chairing with...